Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today, your chances to win fantabulous prizes, plus also more local businesses are closing. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
I called it. I saw this coming a mile away. We know Bob Ferguson's M.O. by now very, very clearly. He is so predictable. Remember all the news reports we saw earlier this week? Oh, he's not sure he's going to sign it. And then the statements from him, oh, I'm not sure I can sign this income tax the way it is. And yeah, I'm not sure I can do it. I'm not going to sign it. And then some Democrats hand-wringing about, oh, well, we're not going to sign this thing. We're not going to sign it. And division in the Democrats. Well, guess what? Today, Turd Ferguson announced that he will sign the new tax proposal for the income tax for Washington State, and every single Democrat fell in line. When I went down to broadcast from the Washington State legislature in January, some of the Republicans came up to me and said, Ari, you got to pull this hearing from TVW. That's our version of C-SPAN. And you got to pull this hearing and you got to pull that hearing. And I said, why? What's going on? And they said, you will see that anytime a Democrat wants to vote against the other Democrats, they call a recess or they call an executive session, drag them out of the room, and then they come back into the room, the one who was dragged out of the room, looking all sad or sullen, and then goes along with what the Democrats want. For those of you who may not have caught this episode earlier this year, I went down to the legislature on an issue I cared about. Most of you probably wouldn't even register for you, but I testified on it, and I gave a very impassioned plea. It was about recognizing a kid who had been killed at UW by Hamas terrorists, because they were more than happy to recognize a kid who had been killed by the IDF because he joined Hamas to riot, and I thought the double standard should be called out. Well, Senator Jesse Solomon, who's a Democrat, was in touch with me afterwards. And Jesse Solomon told me he wanted to know everything about this and he wanted to do something about it. Well, when it came back up for debate again, he was excused from the chamber. And he called me. And he wanted me to feel bad for him, that he caved. Oh, they were pressuring me. Oh, they were threatening me. And I said to him, he never said this was off the record, so I don't care that I'm telling you a private phone conversation. And I said to him, if they are physically threatening you, then let's go to law enforcement. If they are politically threatening you, then let's reveal it. Let's do that. No. That was the end of that. The Democrats are all cowards. The Democrats are all cowards. And I'll tell you something else. I have read through this document. Anybody who's calling it a millionaire's tax is a liar. Anybody who calls it an income tax is incorrect, by the way. What this amendment does, it is a rewrite of our entire tax code to pave the way for an income tax. And I recognize the Democrats' MOs all over this thing. During COVID, my company was in big trouble. I ran an event rental company, and nobody was doing events during COVID. For those of you who don't know, the reason they call me the bouncy house tycoon is because The Stranger wrote an article demonizing me for being a small business owner who did event rentals. I rented bounce houses. I rented photo booths. I rented cotton candy machines, popcorn machines, carnival equipment. And during COVID, it was really, really bad because the way the business was designed was that the backyard rentals, you know, when somebody rents one for their kids or a birthday party or something, that pays your rent. But the festivals, that's your profit. That's your profit. So during COVID, I was trying to figure out how to stay alive as a company. So what I did was I came up with an incentive. The incentive was rent it for a day, keep it for a week. Rent it for a week, keep it for a month. Because I figured these things aren't going to festivals. These things don't go out that often. It actually kept us afloat. It paid our bills. It didn't give us profit. It kept my guys employed. I applied for all the grants and all that. And I think I got a grand total of $5,000 from the government for a company that was pulling in $500,000. I got $5,000. That didn't fix things. Oftentimes I had to pay my employees out of my own pocket. My company was dying. And then I remember I saw an announcement. And the announcement was there's going to be grants available to save small businesses. There's going to be grants available. And at this point, with the masks and the everything else, I said, yeah, it's not going to be for me, but I'm so desperate. Let's go take a chance and let's go see what Jay Inslee and Seattle are offering. So I go to look at this thing. Well, it's for small business owners, all right. It's for not a lot of money, but you got to be LGBTQIA or First Nation or some other minority group I didn't qualify for. And I looked at this thing and I go, oh, great. So no white people, no Asians, no Jews. No, just you have to fit their little boxes. And then they might give you a few bucks to try and save your business. That is exactly what this tax code reads like. That is exactly what it reads like. It is a rewrite of the entire tax code system. The summary of this sucker is, well, we're going to tax the millionaires. And the reason we're going to tax the millionaires is to pay for the kids' education and to give money to low-income people. Wait a second. I thought this was to save the rest of us money. I thought that's how this was pitched. Well, if we rewrite the tax code so that we're taxing the millionaires and then tax everybody else, it's in here, by the way, and then tax everybody else, then we might reduce some of your other taxes here, there, somewhere else. The Democrats have been saying for ages, what's their line? Our tax system is regressive. Regressive, regressive, regressive. So basically what they want is they want the millionaires to pay for this everything, basically for everything. But what they don't realize, or actually I'll take that back, they do realize. What they do realize is eventually you're going to run out of millionaires' money. They want to expand this to everybody. That's what they want to do. So, to summarize this thing, ESSB 6346 is not just a millionaire's tax bill. While the headline provision is a new tax on very high income households, the legislation is structured as a much broader state tax code overhaul. It creates a new individual income tax style regime for Washington, builds detailed sourcing and apportionment rules, sets up an elective pass-through entity tax, changes how certain pension income is treated, expands low-income tax relief, adds sales and use tax exemptions, and coordinates all those as part of an integrated package. They are overhauling the entire thing, and they are designing it to tax everybody. They claim the new taxes intend to operate together with tax reductions and credits enacted elsewhere, that some relief provisions would be unwound if the core tax were repealed or invalidated. The bill's stated policy goal is to preserve and support funding for K-12 education, healthcare, higher education, human services, and the working families tax credit, while making Washington's tax system more balanced and less regressive. It also directs those revenues to support the state's general fund, and starting July 1st, 2029, transfers 5% of collections to the Fair Start for Kids account. Whoa, wait a minute. I thought this thing was to solve our debt problems. I thought this thing was because we have a budget deficit and we have a hole in our budget, and that's what this thing is for. Nope. I thought this thing was an emergency. Why is it only going to in effect in 2029 if it's an emergency? The bill creates a full Washington taxable income base tied to federal adjusted gross income, but modified by numerous state-specific additions, subtractions, deductions, and exemptions. Those modifications include capital gains, add-backs for deductions. Would you like how many of these things it adds in here? You are going to be paying one of the highest tax rates in the U.S., if not the highest. It also contains a major multi-state and business income framework, which is a reason it should not be described as only a tax on millionaires. It includes sourcing and apportionment rules for residents, non-residents, wages, business activity, which means if you're playing for another team and you come here to play, you're going to be taxed. It means if you live somewhere else and you come here to work or for a conference, you're going to be taxed. This is working to chase everybody away. That's what this thing is, and to take the money of those who remain. This is an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare. They say it is a high income tax, but it's really a comprehensive tax reform, and I'm putting that in giant air quotes, an implementation bill that is making it so even if you try to leave Washington and you still do business here in Washington, they're going to take your money. That's what this thing is. It is an absolute disaster. Oh, and by the way, one of the things they did was originally they said, oh, let's have some carve-outs for corporations so they don't run away. Got rid of all that. Got rid of all that. This thing is going to destroy Washington State, and businesses are going to flee. Flee. They already are. I talk about this all the time, that whenever I'm traveling and somebody finds out I'm from Seattle, what's the first joke? Oh, rains there a lot. Ha, 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 ha. Okay. Second thing is, and this one's actually more common, is that autonomous zone still a thing? Because the PR for that was so bad, you can't get past it. Already, people have moved. Already, the wealthy have relocated. This thing is designed to implement an income tax on every single one of us, not just the millionaires. And they don't realize what they're doing? No, they realize 100% what they're doing. Amazon said it is reducing its footprint in Washington, reducing 49,000 desks. I was having this argument with some of our friends in the news. They go, ha ha, CRE, it's not reducing jobs. I go, you're right. The jobs are already gone. What this shows by reducing the desks is they don't ever plan on having them come back. Ever, 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 ever. They used to be one of the top tenants, the top tenant. Took up the most office space in Seattle. They're gone. They're in Bellevue. No more Amazon. Starbucks. We broke the story earlier this week that Starbucks is headed for greener pastures. They are expanding their corporate headquarters out to Nashville. We all know by now that's not what that actually means. It means when they say they're moving some jobs out of Seattle, it means some jobs now and some jobs later, and soon there will be nothing left here anymore. You are literally watching the economic suicide of Washington. You had the tech bros tell the Democrats, if you do this, we cannot do business here anymore. That means they're also going to be losing their donations, because why would you donate to something in Washington State when you're not there anymore? Things are looking so bad with this, they're looking back at California, saying at least California learned its lesson. Maybe we should go back to California because even they're not crazy enough to do something like this. You know what the front page story of the Seattle Times was today? Not the income tax, not the fact that the Democrats passed a bill last night that's paving the way for them to remove any elected official they don't like, not just the sheriff. You know what the front page thing was? One of the Republicans used the R word. Oh, no. One of the Republicans used the R word. That is the front page story on the paper of record here in Washington. Not an income tax that could hit everybody. Not that the Democrats are working to remove elected officials they don't like, whether they're sheriff or not. None of that. But the fact that a Republican said the R word last night while debating till 2 a.m. on these issues. We have no media here. We have no media here. The only media you have is independent journalists, and they're trying to silence us. Why are they trying to silence me and Jonathan Cho and Brandy Cruz? Because I looked. Do you know what the top story was on Como News today for local? You would think this massive tax. Bob Ferguson agreed to do it. Hey, they're taking away the sheriffs. Hey, they're removing your ability. They're getting rid of these publicly elected officials. They're removing a 100-year-old tree in Washington because they finally got the permits to do so. The last time I checked Como News, that was their top local story. They're removing a tree, a 100-year-old tree. That was the story here in Washington, not the income tax. Are you kidding me with this? People will flee. That old billboard, last one left in Seattle, turn out the lights. Now it's going to be last one in Washington, turn out the lights. Crazy. absolutely crazy. You think you're going to get the Sonics back? You think, what kind of carve-outs are they going to offer to the Sonics? If the Sonics come back, it's only because of the carve-outs that they offer. What did the Seattle Times cover instead? Do you know that yesterday they had an article? I kid you not. Here's the headline. Mideast war hits Seattle area housing market's hope for lower rates. Hang on. You're blaming Iran for what's going on with the housing market around here? What moron wrote this article? Yes, because of the war in Iran, it's affecting the housing market here. Maybe the housing market's being affected by people fleeing Washington State. How about that? How about the gas prices? Oh, the gas prices, they're being affected by what happened in the Middle East. Do you know how much the war with Iran affected gas prices nationally? 2 cents. 2 cents a gallon. Do you know how much Democrat taxes are affecting you per gallon? $1.39, if not more. $1.39. That's why our gas is so expensive, because the Democrats have a spending problem, because the Democrats want every dollar you have. They're not just going to kill the golden goose. They're going to kill the golden geese. Everything here in Washington. So I'm going to do something. I don't have the time for this, and I'm going to do it anyway. I don't want to leave. Stay and fight is what I say. Those of you who want to leave, I get it. Believe me, I get it. Well, you think we haven't had that discussion in the Hoffman household? But for those of you who want to stay, we're going to be doing something new. And I just came up with this like an hour ago and posted it to social media. Clearly an Ari Hoffman idea, not thought out in advance, and we're just going to ready, fire, aim here. I'm going to run a candidate, as many as I can find, ones who are viable, against every single Democrat that votes for this legislation for the income tax, including Bob Ferguson if he signs it, which he will. I will run a candidate against every single one. And if you've thought about running for office, you want to run for office, you be in touch with me. You be in touch with me. I'm pretty easy to find on social media. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on my Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram. The Hofffather over on X. I'm a pretty easy guy to find. My DMs are open. But be warned. If you are a candidate who has run multiple times before and lost multiple times before, I don't care how friendly I am with you, I'm not going to think you're viable. Viability means you can raise money. Viability means you can knock on doors. Viability means you have a story to tell. And we have to run somebody in every single race against every single one of these guys as a last-ditch attempt to save this state. Because this will kill Washington. Will somebody bring out an initiative challenge against the income tax? I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. But the Democrats know that. The Democrats know that. They're prepared for that. And winning the Washington State Supreme Court is going to be very, very challenging. If somebody wants to take on that monster, I applaud you. But I'm focused on the legislature. I'm focused on the governor's office. We are going to run against them on this issue. On this issue. You voted for an income tax because you are spending our money on trans surgeries for felons who are incarcerated. You voted for an income tax because you spent our money on self-service stations for men through the Arts Commission. You voted for an income tax because you spent thousands of dollars on stripper yoga. You voted for an income tax because you are wasting and not auditing millions, if not $1 billion of fraud in your daycares. Doge Washington has revealed dozens of them yesterday, and I don't even think they're through the A's yet. So because the Democrats are bad stewards of our money, we're going to challenge every single one of them on the income tax. If you want to be part of this, you be in touch with me. ARIKVI.com. That's ARIKVI.com. Because I guarantee you, more businesses will close, more businesses will leave, and more people will leave. I look around my synagogue, and I saw what happened the last time the Democrats did insane policies. COVID killed the Jewish community here in Washington. It really, really did. Because so many of them came out here to work for the tech companies. And when you can work remotely, why would you stay here? If you can work remotely and you can earn the salary for living here, but not actually have to stay here and deal with the crime and deal with the broken bridges and deal with the drugs and deal with the homeless and deal with the taxes and deal with anything else, why would you stay here? So a whole bunch of people left. Some of the synagogues in town lost a third of their membership, 2/3 of their membership. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I'm sure that happened with a lot of your churches. I'm sure that happened with a lot of your friend groups. But for those of us that are left, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, moderate, libertarian. I do not care. Do you have a chance to win? And will you say you will repeal this insanity and never vote for something like this again? That is what I am looking for. We need to stop more places from closing. Like these restaurants in Seattle that are closing at quits. Because there's only so many times you can be broken into and then still be in business. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. By the way, before we get into closing restaurants and such, I love how a lot of people said this year is going to be the Mariners' year. Now, you can make fun of me about this if they actually make it to the playoffs or they actually make it to the World Series. Do you know what the score of the Mariners game was last night? Now, to be fair, it's spring training. And I've been to spring training games, which are a joke. An absolute joke.
Whatever you're building up to here, just stop yourself before you say it. Yeah, I mean, spring training, come on.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but the Mariners set a record last
And what
night.
they did last season, come on.
I'm agreeing with you. That's why I did the disclaimer. You can all make fun of me about this later, including you in there. You can definitely make fun of me about this.
Later, we should just make fun of you all the time.
Well,
because,
I mean, we
you
kinda
never
do
change.
around-
You never change. No matter how good. These guys could finally win the World Series, and you're still...
Wait, what'd you just say? Finally win the World Series?
And you'll bandwagon jump on.
No, I will not.
You'll hang a banner behind you.
I will not do that for that.
And then next year, you'll talk trash about them.
Well, yes, I will do that. So, the Mariners score last night set a record in minor league baseball. The Padres beat the Mariners 27-6. Now, full disclaimer, I have been to these minor league games. I went last year for the first time ever. It's worse than watching like a high school baseball game. High school kids want it. College kids want it. The T-ball kids want it. These guys do not want it during spring training. That's not just the Mariners. It seems like everybody's there just to drink in the dugout. Not that I've seen them drinking in the dugout, but that's the vibe. It's a real D-League softball vibe in spring training. But 27-6? Oi. Just oi. And this is not great at all. So 6 Seattle area restaurants are closing down, which is just more. Here's what we got here. This one here, according to the Seattle Times, Greenbridge Cafe in White Center, Mustard Seed Grill and Pub in Bellevue, Assyrian Stir Eat Food Hall downtown, Anger Walk in the University District, U-Dawn on Capitol. Why do you think all these places are leaving? Just throwing it out there. Why do you think? What, you think they have less customers? I think that might be a big contributing factor. Why? Over here on the Warrior Injury Law text line, I got a whole bunch of texts here. This one's from Jim in Renton. He says, actually, the billboard will say, last one to leave Washington, blow out the candle. Oh, yeah, did I mention they're raising your utility rates by 30%? 30%! 30%. Jeremy in Tacoma, at the cheap gas station near me, gas jumped 20 cents today. It's not because of the war in Iran. It's because of the carbon auctions. It has nothing to do with the war in Iran. This one here from James. Ari, you were not here when Olympia wanted the lotto for Washington State. No more high property tax increase. I was unaware of that. That was way before my time. My property taxes have increased $1,200 in the last 3 years. That's what I paid per year in 2005. That's what we're looking at here. Pam in Lake Stevens asks, when the legislature passed Initiative 2111 in 2024, does that give them the right to pass this? Apparently so. Well, don't forget what Jamie Peterson said about the ban on income taxes. Just a pie crust promise, broken easily. That's what he said. Oh, who's this person from the 253 making fun of me for being a Mets fan? I will tell you something, Mariners fans out there. There are two World Series trophies for those Mets. Oh, they may be a laughing stock of the league, but they have been to the World Series in 1969, in 1973, in 1986, in 2000, and of course in 2015. How many times have the Mariners been to the World Series, Kevin? Oh, come on. We know how many that is. That's the big bagel right there, right? I'm getting made fun of on the text line.
How long has your team existed?
Just a few years longer than the Mariners, sir. Yeah, you guys used to have the Pilots. Are they the Brewers now? The Pilots of the Brewers?
We only
I think
had
they're
it
the
for one
Brewers.
season in like the 60s.
Right, in the 60s. They used to play at my Lowe's. That's where they were.
Who were the Mets? Were they anything before where they moved
They
over?
were nobody. They were an expansion team. Yeah. They were an expansion team that got added later. Yeah, this is not great. Not great, my friends. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from George and Ken Moore. George, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. I was actually thinking about that the other day, the Republican thing. And, you know, A, you ought to be the Republican chairman for the state. And B, you know, maybe you can tell us what it was like. I know you ran, but how do we dethrone like a Del Benny or something like that, you know?
Okay, so let's stop right there. We're stopping right there, George. We're not doing federal. I'm not doing federal. That has got to be somebody else's fight. I am talking about the legislature. The legislature is easier to run against, and I know a lot of people don't think so. Because at the legislature, they will try to make Donald Trump the issue, but say, You voted for the tax increase. You voted for the gas tax increase. You voted for the income tax. You have to run on that alone. And will people try to make this about national stuff? Absolutely. There's some lefties online who are making fun of my social media post. Ari, what would you know about winning elections? You lost when you ran. Damn right, and I know exactly why I lost. I know exactly why I lost. So I know what I'm looking for people to challenge these guys. You have to keep it on the local issues. Here's something else. You can't have somebody who ran for office 20 times before and failed 20 times before. It can't be that.
Yeah.
And here's something else. You need a story. Why are you doing this? My business. You know, it'd be great if all the tech people ran. And I know a lot of you right now are thinking, oh, they're all a bunch of lefties. No, they're a bunch of business owners. They're a bunch of business owners. That's what you want. You want business owners running. Your business was destroyed by these policies. That's how you run for office. You got to be able to raise money. You got to be able to knock on doors, and you got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to say when you knock on a door in 10 seconds why you are there. Your whole messaging, and they got to like you right away. It's not easy. George, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. While we're trying to kick the Democrats to the curb here in Washington, you're going to be surprised to hear who President Trump is kicking out of MAGA. When we come back, it's a name that you all know, and we'll tell you exactly who it is and why they're being booted out of MAGA by President Trump himself. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, but it has exponentially grown overnight. Jonathan Karl, journalist for ABC, said in a lengthy conversation just now, President Trump hit back at Tucker Carlson, who called the Iran war absolutely disgusting and evil. Well, of course, Tucker Carlson called it that. He's in the pocket of Qatar. Quote, Trump has lost his way, Trump told me. Oh, sorry, Tucker has lost his way, Trump told me. I knew that a long time ago, and he's not MAGA. MAGA is saving our country. MAGA is making our country great again. MAGA is America first, and Tucker is none of those things. And Tucker is really not smart enough to understand that. Direct quote from the President of the United States about Tucker Carlson going completely off the rails. So President Trump booted him because he's criticizing the war. And here's something else about Tucker. Tucker doesn't have the balls to actually call out President Trump for that. He was worried he was going to lose access. But now Trump has finally had it with Tucker Carlson. Finally had it. Now, what's interesting, and this one I laughed at, I giggled about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene replies to this tweet and writes, Trump doesn't even know what MAGA is anymore. Marjorie Taylor Greene actually wrote that over on social media. Last time I checked, Marjorie Taylor Greene is hugging all the Hamasniks in Code Pink Chinese plants who are running around the halls of Congress and taking pictures of them and talking about how they were right and Trump wronged her. Are you kidding me with this? Really? So Marjorie Taylor Greene says Trump doesn't even know what MAGA is anymore. Lady, you never would have gotten elected to office if not for him and if not for MAGA. Never would have at all in a gajillion years. Tucker has absolutely lost his mind. He went on this rant on his show just the other day about Chabad. Chabad is a Jewish outreach organization, which you may see them. They're putting tefillin. Those are those black boxes and straps you see on Jews who aren't observant. You go to a town, there's always a Chabad there. I remember this. Teen Titans, the cartoon. I was watching it with my kids one time, and Robin is talking to Cyborg about how they have to do a mission to the moon. This just shows you they have Jewish writers on this show. So Robin and Cyborg and the rest of the Teen Titans go, are looking at going to the moon. And I think Cyborg turns to Robin and he says, Robin, where are we going to stay when we get to the moon? And Robin goes, there's a Chabad there. We can stay there. Oh, and then Cyborg goes, those guys are everywhere. Of course. Sure. None of the kids got that joke, but it's there. You know them from the telethon. You know them from, you know what? They are a threat. They have tanks that go down the streets of other cities. Mitzvah tanks. They go around giving out food, helping out addicts, feeding the hungry. Mitzvah tanks. Big giant RVs they have going around helping people out. But Tucker Carlson thinks that they are behind the war in Iran. You know what Chabad is good for? When I am going out for speaking gigs, I always look out, is there a Chabad nearby? Because then I know I have a place to do services. I know I can get some potato kugel and maybe a l'chaim. That's what Chabad is for. They do outreach. But apparently they're behind the war in Iran, even though their entire thing is they want to bring about the Messiah through acts of kindness and good deeds. But, yeah, they're behind the war in Iran, right, Tucker?
So how exactly did the IDF wind up wearing patches suggesting the point of this war was the destruction of one of the holiest places in Islam and the rebuilding of a temple that is totally anathema to Christianity? Like, how did this happen? Through, in part, the efforts of a group called Chabad, Chabad. And you may know people who give money to Chabad or run to Chabad, super nice people, engaged in all kinds of charitable activities, drug rehab. You know, there's a lot about Chabad that's really good. But what is Chabad exactly? Well, Chabad, you can look it up, is a very old organization, about 250 years old. And it's a branch of Hasidic Judaism. It's an organization that was overseen for many years by a guy called Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, who was famously in Brooklyn, considered the Messiah by some of his followers, who was a friend of presidents, or certainly someone presidents visited. He was a very powerful man in the Orthodox and the Hasidic community. And he was the overseer of Chabad, which predated him and outlasted him, but he was its most visible ambassador. And Chabad has been pushing in a pretty subtle way, unless you look carefully, for the reconstruction of the Third Temple. And it seems like, from the reading we did recently, that those patches actually came from Chabad. In any case, Chabad is pushing for the building of the Third Temple.
See, this is what people do. They take a little half-truth here or a little bit of truth, sprinkle it into a conspiracy theory. What patches are they talking about? Some IDF soldiers decide to wear a patch that's in the symbol of the temple. It has nothing to do with Chabad whatsoever. At all. At all. I've been up to the Temple Mount. There are guys who wear jackets with a symbol of the temple on it. Every Jew prays for the rebuilding of the temple 3 times a day minimum. Every single one. You caught us, Tucker. You caught us. By the way, Iran, for that mosque, the holiest place in Islam you were talking about, Iran launched some of its ballistic missiles at the Dome of the Rock, at the Al-Aqsa Mosque that's right next door to it. If they cared so much about it, why'd they launch rockets at it? Hamas launched rockets at it. So if they cared so much about it, why are they launching rockets at the thing? I've been up there. They don't treat it like the holiest place. They're smoking up there. They're playing soccer up there. They're flying kites up there. The trash is everywhere up there. They don't treat it like the holiest site. This is conspiracy theory nonsense. And I'm worried about them creating danger towards the Hasidic community because this is a community that's attacked on the regular. Literally had a guy try to drive a car through their main headquarters in Brooklyn just 2 weeks ago. They've been the focus of terrorist attacks around the world, most notably in Mumbai, when somebody took hostages in one of the Chabad houses there. This is insane. He has completely jumped the shark. He is nuts. Absolutely nuts beyond crazy. Beyond crazy. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Ken in Auburn. Ken, what's going on?
Oh, hey, this is Ken in Auburn. It's going pretty good.
Good. What's on your mind, Ken? 5, 4, 3, 2. Goodbye, Ken. Okay. Friends, when you call the show, you got to be prepared with what you want to talk about when you call the show. Ken, if you want to try that again, be prepared. Call on back, and not that hard a question, but you give us a call. We'll try and work that out for you.
I almost jumped on to help him. He was calling to say that he knows what it takes to win elections, local elections.
Okay. I don't have a lot of confidence right now, but, somebody's welcome to call and tell me what that's going to be. By the way, I want you guys to win, so here's what I want you to do. If you want to win 2 advanced screening tickets to see Universal Pictures' Reminders of Him, a highly anticipated film adaptation from best-selling author Colleen Hoover, we're having the screening on March 10th at 6:15. Head on over to kvi.com. That's kvi.com. Okay, go to the contest page and enter your information for your chance to win. That's kvi.com. Head on over to the contest page for your chance to win. You know who's winning, by the way? Brian Mast. Congressman Brian Mast. They're revealing everything. He's spilling all the tea on all the insanity the Democrats are up to. And yesterday we found out a new term, gay maps. Gay maps. Apparently they were gaying the maps. That's not my terminology. That's their terminology. When we come back, we're going to have this insane audio for you and explain exactly what gay cartography is. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Okay, this has to be the craziest audio we've ever played on the show. I kid you not. This is the craziest audio. Let me set the scene for you. There is a hearing of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And the House Foreign Affairs Committee brings in some people from the Public Diplomacy Department. All right? And they're trying to see what the Biden administration's focus was on. So the Undersecretary of Public Diplomacy is testifying in front of the committee. Brian Mast, Republican from Florida, is the one asking questions at this time. Now, the person who's testifying clearly sounds like somebody who is now free to speak their mind without fear of retribution or getting fired, who is revealing what their department was up to under the Biden administration. Give a listen to this insanity.
Can you tell me what is queering the map?
So I think we were trying to make the maps more gay.
Literally? How do you make a map
know.
more gay?
I mean, especially
or
with
gay
AI,
at all?
you know, since the age of cartography, we've had pretty good maps, but maybe they weren't gay enough. So I know also, I took critical theory in college. I think sometimes people use queer as a verb. I do understand that the maps that we were trying to make gay were, I think, of Czechia and Slovakia. So maybe those countries asked for it. I doubt it, but I don't know.
We do have real things to work on in Congress, like what's going on with the imminent threat of Iran, and it is embarrassing that we have to talk about the fact that things like this were funded. Non-binary and trans francophones, linguistic attitudes and ideologies towards inclusive French in Montreal, Canada, these things. I'm going to give you a list. My time has expired. I'm going to give you a list of these, and any of these that you can provide me the receipt for, the Facebook link to where they wanted to take photos of how they were doing a DEIA flash mob in Kyrgyzstan, whatever documentation they have of all of these things, we would love to see that and would absolutely love to know the individuals specifically that were busy writing these grants, because they have no business receiving another paycheck from the people of the United States of America. In that, I will recognize Representative Schneider.
Okay, what makes a gay map? I mean, or maybe they were already gay?
Maybe they weren't gay enough.
Oh, that's what it is. I understand. Okay.
I was very confused by this when Zach played this for me earlier.
Yes.
Like, I want the explanation.
I have the explanation.
Okay.
I have the explanation.
Thank you.
Through a little Googling, I think I figured out what's going on.
Maybe they weren't gay enough.
No, that's not what it was. Okay, here's what it is. I have found a website called Queering the Map.
I just
Maybe
found
they
that.
weren't gay enough.
I just found that same website when.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to read to you from Queering the Map.
Are
my
you going to
friends.
read the about?
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
I got about 2
That is-
seconds in.
You are looking at it. It's already
I got
crazy.
2 sentences in, I was like, what are they talking about?
I'll tell you what they're talking about.
Maybe they weren't gay enough.
All right, here's what we're going to talk about. Queering the Map is a community-generated counter-mapping platform for digitally archiving LGBTQ2IA plus experience in relation to physical space. I have no idea what that even means. That doesn't even translate to English.
Maybe they weren't gay enough.
The platform provides an interface to collaboratively record the cartography of queer life from the park benches to the middle of the ocean in order to preserve our histories and unfolding realities, which continue to be invalidated, contested, and erased. The park bench is queer? Is the park bench to the middle of the ocean?
Maybe they weren't gay enough.
I don't know what this means. From collective action to stories of coming out, encounters with violence to moments of rapturous love. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you like saying this is my spot? This is where we go to do that? Because I don't need a map of that. Queering the Map functions as a living archive of queer life. So wait a second. You want to do the queering of Czechoslovakia? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not called Czechoslovakia. It's the Czech Republic and Slovakia, right? Sorry. I still know the maps in my head from middle school before the fall of the Soviet Union. through mapping the LGBTQ2IA plus experience and its intersectional permutations. The project works to generate affinities across difference and beyond borders, revealing the ways in which we are all intimately connected. What the hell are they talking about here? I don't know.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I don't know what this means. Kevin, you're looking at this thing, right?
I am, yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm doing my darndest here.
Right.
I mean, I think it is like creating a place where you can go in that community and see poignant moments that happened in that community, where they happened, and that sort of thing, because that stuff is not saved or preserved in the way that your straight community.
Do we have a straight map like this?
I don't think so.
I don't have a Jewish map like this. I don't know what this means.
If someone told me, like, this park bench here is where I had my first kiss and was like my friend, I'd be like, cool, bro.
Right.
Or
that's really sweet.
Cool.
That's really sweet.
And then if they were like, I think I want to make a map to where, things like this, it's like,
wait. I know what this is. Wait, Kevin, you have to, you don't do social media as much.
Not really.
I get these ads all the time on Facebook. Do a pin in a map of where your first date was and give it to your wife in a frame so you can hang it on the wall. Or a pin of where you got engaged or that kind of stuff on a map. So this is that, just the gay version. There's little dots out in the water here. I mean, I'm no expert on cartography, but what happened out in the middle of the water?
You're floating on a boat or something?
Sure.
Something like that?
Sure.
I mean,
a gay cruise. Who knows? I don't know.
That's what I get from this is like basically like, hey, we are going to create a record because, we're a minority. And if we don't do it, no one's going to. So, I kind of get it. I don't understand where it comes into play with.
I'll tell you where it comes into play, Kevin.
Maybe they weren't gay enough.
That's where it comes into play.
But grants to do this for the Czech Republic?
Yeah.
Is that what we were talking about?
If the Czech Republic wants to spend the money gaying the maps, then let the Czech Republic do it.
Yeah, like if you're querying the map, why wouldn't you just be like, hey, we'll help you set up a site of your own, but...
You really think the Czech Republic wants to queer the maps? You really think that Slovakia wants to queer the maps? Something tells me this is a first world kind of problem. That this is an America kind of problem, or at least a Democrat kind of problem. Queering the map was initiated on the unceded traditional lands of the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation. Oh, we're doing land acknowledgments. That's not queering the maps. That's Native American stuff, right? The island currently called Montreal is known as... I can't. I just can't with this. I can't. You know what else I can't with? The fact that Democrats are trying to take away your vote and remove the people you elected to office. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, another chance to win fantabulous prizes, and Brandy Cruz joins us to talk about the latest insanity in the Washington legislature. But before we get to any of that, we go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Ken in Auburn, who's back. Ken, what's going on, man?
Hey, Ari, it's going pretty good. It's stuck out here in traffic.
All right, that sucks. Where are you? Which freeway are you on right now?
I'm getting ready to go back onto 167 after going through I-5.
Yeah, that sucks, man. That sucks. Well, anyway, it's the weekend, right? It's almost 5 o'clock, right? So it's good somewhere, right?
That's right.
All right, what's going on, man?
Well, I just you asked what does it take to win an election. You have to have a good team behind you. I started Stand Up Federal Way probably about 5 years ago, and just noticing that there's homeless drug addicts everywhere, and nobody seemed to care that they were out there doing drugs right in front of kids, pants down and pooping everywhere, and nobody cared about them or the optics of it for kids that are driving by. And I just started getting on Facebook and just sharing what I thought, and people like, yeah, that's messed up, and so on. And then I started going to city council meetings, and I found out that they would not even call it addiction. They would not even say the word, and neither did the county when we got the city to get the county to get in there and talk about the problem. This was before. Now everybody's admitting it's an addiction problem. So you have to stay local. You cannot get federal. It's so easy to. If you watch TV or so on, you get sucked into that stuff. It has nothing to do with your city council or your school board. And those are the most important things. If you can get a team around that about, facts and stuff like that, then you can win it. But you need a team. And one thing that conservatives are is they're too, and all that other stuff, getting them out there is very difficult to do because their number one priority is their family, and they don't realize that someone's got to fight the fight.
Right.
And so we flipped the council. We got 2 out of 5 onto the school board. We made a change, and I moved to Auburn.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this also is that the other thing we need to stop, by the way, Ken, and tell me if you agree with me on this, and I'm sure there's other people other than conservatives in your group, but you need to stop saying, okay, here's our MAGA purity test, or any purity test for that matter. It has to be, here are our local issues. This is what we are committed to. This is what we are doing. And we don't care if you're Democrat. We don't care if you're Republican. This is our core issue. Would you agree with that?
I mean, that's where we went, because you can't go that way. So we were a nonpartisan group, and we were voting in Republicans or independents, but because Democrats just didn't have a clue, or they were sold by King County, they were doing what King County wanted for Federal Way instead of what Federal Way citizens, what would be best for Federal Way citizens. So we were a nonpartisan group that was only worked on issues that had to do with our city.
There you go.
So it works. You go door to door, and a lot of people agree with you if you just stick to the issues and don't ever say the R word.
Yeah, exactly. You stick to the local issues. Because, Ken, I'm sure you know this. Look, I've got friends who are on the left, and I've got friends who hate Donald Trump, despise everything he stands for. But we talk about the local issues, and they agree with me because they know that the local issues suck. And that's the kind of stuff they want to talk about. Ken, if you got good candidates, I want you sending them my way, all right?
All right, have a good one.
All right, thanks for the call, man. You drive safe. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Ken is 100% right. You need to focus on the local issues. Focus like a laser. And if you don't like the question you get, you don't accept the premise of the question. For example, this is one I used to get all the time on the campaign trail. Did you vote for Donald Trump? I don't know what Donald Trump has anything whatsoever to do with what's going on here in Washington. Nothing at all. He has everything to do with it. I go, give me one issue which he has something to do with, which has affected Washington. Zero. Nada. Zilch. So, instead, you got to focus on local issues. For example, hey, Democrats, did you know that the Washington State House last night passed Senate Bill 5974, which allows the state to decertify and remove your elected sheriff at will? let's be real about this. They didn't like Sheriff Adam Fortney. They didn't like Keith Swank. They didn't like that they wanted the ballot box. And they go, hey, let's get rid of these guys. That's what's going on here. And look, I like Keith Swank personally, but I don't know when he has all the time to be tweeting when he should be sheriffing. Sorry, not sorry. What is he doing? But I will say this. They're trying to get rid of him because they are shocked that they lost to him. And if they can say they can remove a sheriff at will, why can't they remove a school board member at will? Why can't they remove a mayor at will? A city council member at will? What's next? What is next? So, this insanity has passed after 8 hours of debate last night. According to Como News, the bill would allow the removal of an elective sheriff from office. Supporters say it would modernize decades-old standards for sheriffs, police chiefs, and town marshals in Washington and give a state board the power to remove an elected sheriff. Who's the state board? Who is the state board? Oh, right. An unelected body. Kind of like Sound Transit that way. So an unelected body can say, we want to overrule the vote of the people because we don't like anybody. That's what it is. That's what it is. So now the bill is heading back to the Senate for concurrence, which means there are some amendments attached to this sucker, which have to be worked out between the Senate and the House, and then it goes to Bob Ferguson, and he's going to sign the thing. He is going to sign the thing. And I'll tell you something, we are less safe because of it. You think anybody's going to want to run for sheriff? This is crazy. Now, meanwhile, what do they want to replace it with? I'll remind you of what we talked about yesterday with the Washington Attorney General's office with Nick Brown. So the Democrats also passed a sweeping bill giving him all these investigative powers and that his people can remain anonymous, but all the police officers that want to wear masks or the federal agents that want to wear masks or the deputies that want to wear masks, no, we don't want them to do it. It's not that they want to abolish the police. It's that they want their version of the police. It's they want their version of law enforcement. So, right here, Representative Peter Obarno compares this other bill about the Attorney General. Quote, this bill is akin to giving the AG the ability to just kick down the door to your house and your business, demand all your paperwork, demand oral testimony, demand a deposition, hand you interrogatories, just do discovery because the AG needs to do it because they can't operate within the laws we have now like all the other attorneys have to do now. It's basically like, I think he's guilty. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That's what this is. Do you not see it's all part of the exact same stuff? It's all part of the same thing. They tried to get rid of a whole bunch of cops during COVID with the vax insanity. They tried to get rid of them during defunding. They realize it's not popular. So instead, what do they want to do? Reform the police department. They want to reform it in their image. Oh, and they also want to raid the pension fund, which was well managed for all the first responders, take all the money to fix their budget insanity, give it to, I don't know, teacher unions, pensions, or whatever else, spend it on trans surgeries for felons. Who knows what they want to spend it on, but they want to raid the pension fund. Actually, Dave Reichert is stepping up to advocate against this and to fight against the raid of the pension fund. I don't know if he's actually going to be able to do it because the Democrats have a near supermajority, but he's going to try. It's insane to me that they're doing this. So let's see, just by my count, how many groups have the Democrats pissed off this year? Let's see, the tech community, which was some of their bread and butter, the corporate community, which is some of their bread and butter, first responders, which never really liked them very much, and now everybody in Washington about the income tax. So this is why there is a path to victory. And this is why I don't trust anybody else to do it. So like I said, I'm recruiting candidates to run against anybody in the legislature who votes for an income tax. Anybody. That is going to be our issue. That is going to be our only issue. And if you have thought about running before, you can be in touch with me. Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, the Hofffather over on Twitter. We are going to do this. Just thought of this like an hour ago. Because I don't want to leave Washington State. I want to stay and fight. Are you willing to stay and fight also? We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Ernie in Puyallup. Ernie, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. Hey, just a question on that resolution that was passed or whatever on, where they can get rid of the sheriff that was voted on by the people.
Yeah.
Doesn't the state or anything have any kind of safety net or guidelines so things don't, go like that?
In theory,
it's just getting ridiculous to the point to where no matter what we vote on, no matter what the people want, they have some way of skirting by it. And there's got to be some kind of safety net so that it doesn't become, just like it's becoming. Just whatever they want is what they get.
normally I'd say yes, but that's the Supreme Court. And how's the Washington State Supreme Court?
But yeah, they go with them, but isn't there any way we can go past that?
Well, here's what you can do. On local issues,
Override
here's what you
that?
can do. What is it, 3 or 5? I forget how many justices are up this year. I have to do some recalculations. I think it's 5 because there's 3 who resigned, and I think there's 2 who are up for re-election. There are 5 spots on the Washington State Supreme Court, I believe, coming up this next cycle. I believe it's 5. So you want to fix things? Everybody needs to focus on the Supreme Court. We got Dave Larson on the show earlier this week. We need to focus on the Supreme Court. You need 5 normal candidates who can actually win this thing. And what's all anybody's talking about? Oh, who's going to run against Jayapal? Who's going to run against Del Bene? Who's going to run against, whoever else is out there? Who's going to run against any of these Looney Tunes? No. That's important. Leave that to the Washington State GOP. Let them deal with that. We got to deal with the local issues. We got to deal with that. Would you agree, Ernie?
Oh, no, I agree wholeheartedly because, like I said, there's so many things that as, citizens we voted on and they just kick it to the side or don't care what we, even what interests we have. Like I said, we get all the calls in there to tell them about this income tax and they look at you and go, oh, we don't care. We're going to do what we want. Why, it's getting to the point of ridiculous.
Yeah, it really, really is. Ernie, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Kay Workman thinks they're going to go after Thurston County Sheriff Sanders next. They're going to go after anybody they don't like. Just watch. That is exactly what they are going to do. John in Lakewood says Washington is quickly becoming a bona fide totalitarian state. Yeah, he's not wrong at all. For the very people that claim that us Republicans are subverting democracy, look what they are doing. Oh, speaking of which, by the way, little programming note for you. Monday is going to be a lot of fun, my friends. Monday is going to be a ton of fun. So Monday, me and Brandy Cruz and Jonathan Cho have our hearing in federal court about our press passes. That's right. The Democrats are pushing back very, very hard, trying to keep us out of the Washington State Legislature. And the session's over on, is it over on Thursday or Friday? Hang on, let's do a quick calculation. It's over on Thursday. The session is over on Thursday. So they have dragged this thing out, trying to make sure we don't get to cover the legislature. That's what they're doing. They don't want us in the House of Representatives. Lori Jenkins has very, very thin skin and very, very short hair, and she really doesn't want us covering what they're up to because who else is? Let me ask you this. No, really. I really want your honest opinion on this. Aside from me, Brandy Cruz, Jonathan Cho, and our friends over at the Center Square, who's really covering the Washington State Legislature that you've been reliant on, that you've been getting news this time around? Anybody? Anybody at all? They don't want any opposition. They know they're going to lose. They know they're going to lose this case. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to stall it till the legislative session's over. Why? Because then they can rewrite the rules of what they consider a journalist and keep us all out. What we are finding out is that the Democrats were actually planning on doing this before the session even started. In the most recent things that I've seen, they were planning this as far back as December. And here's the thing that's crazy to me. Brandy goes to the legislature all the time. Jonathan Cruz has gone down to the legislature before. I go down maybe once a year when the Republicans invite me. And for the rest of the year, I cover the session remotely. I cover it from here in my studio. That's what I usually do. But I want to go down there and I want to ask some questions and I want to hold some people accountable. But they put me on a list before I'd ever even applied for press credentials from the Washington State Legislature. I had never done it before. I hadn't planned on it originally, but I thought, this year would be nice to go down and broadcast from the legislature. See, I say all the time the Democrats listen to my show, and from the most recent court filings, I know that they do because they're actually quoting parts of my show. But they clearly were afraid of me coming down and asking questions. They're afraid of it. They're afraid of Brandy asking questions. They're afraid of Jonathan Cho asking questions. And in all fairness, Brandy still gets to ask the governor questions. She still gets to ask the Senate questions. It's the House that isn't letting us do this. This is insane because they don't want us revealing what they are up to. Don't want us revealing at all. And it's crazy that they were planning this back in December. In December, they were planning this. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Barn in Linwood. Barn, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, I'm glad to be on your show. I want you to know I love it. And,
Thank you.
I got a choice. There's lots of things to listen to, but I always tune into you. You can't be beat.
Thank you. That means a lot. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And so my comment, I'm not staying in Washington State to fight this out. It's a losing battle. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to be a political and economic refugee before I know it and lose my pants to these people, and I don't want to live their way. I'm a freedom guy. I lived 20 years of my life in Alaska, and have never been confronted with this since the day I grew up in New York City. I don't want to live in New York City.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
I live that way.
I don't blame you, man. I really don't, which is why I said at the very, very beginning, I said, look, if you're going to leave, I understand it. And look, I grew up in New York, too. And when I saw that our tax rates are going to be higher than New York's, my heart fell into my stomach. You know what that feeling's like. Right? Absolutely fell into my stomach. But
amazing.
I said, I could rant and rave about this, or I could do something about it. Now, you want to go, Barn? I'm only going to ask you one favor, okay? One favor. You ready for it? And I won't give you any crap about leaving.
I'm ready.
I want you to download the KVI app so that way you can listen to us and see us as a cautionary tale when you go, okay?
Hey, I got it. I listened to my phone. I listened to my Alexa thing. I'm on it. And I'm really an old Hoboken boy.
Jersey. I understand. It's okay. I understand. It's okay. I'm not going to make fun of you. For those of you who don't know, the relationship between New York and New Jersey is kind of like the relationship between Seattle and Tacoma, right? We make fun of how they smell. I'm just kidding, Bard. I'm just kidding. Yeah, but I appreciate the call, and I 100% hear where you're coming from. Thanks for the kind words. Thanks for being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from Barb in Federal Way. I would love to move out of this failing, greedy, insane state, but I'm unable to do so. I'm old. I don't have the money to move. Also, I'm not sure where I would move to, but on the bright side, my health is so poor, I don't anticipate being alive much longer. Oh, my God, that's horrible, Barb. Kind of sad knowing I look more forward to death than living many more years in Washington. Wow. Okay, Barb, that's really kind of sad or something, all right? I mean, call the show. We'll talk to you, all right? I know how frustrated you are. I know how frustrated you are. I get it. Believe me, I do. That's why I can either sit around here yelling into a microphone all day or try to change it. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I love my show. I love my job. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Greg in Everett. Greg, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, before I make my point, I was going to talk about Barb about dying.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, what about the death tax?
No! You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong. Yeah, what's up, Greg?
So anyways, you were talking about how the legislature is trying to, hide things, push people around, intimidate, stuff like that. Greg Gutfeld had the best quote about it. He says, for socialism to work, it must be perfect. That's why it has to be done by force.
Yeah. Yep. Crazy stuff, man. You're not wrong. He's not wrong. That's a great point.
Yep.
All right. Appreciate the call.
All right, Ari.
Appreciate you being part of the show, man. You have a wonderful weekend. Oh, man. I mean, I hear where all the frustration's coming from. I really, really do, guys. I'm right there with you. There are some people in media who do this because they like the clicks or they like the gig or whatever the case may be. I do this because I've always wanted to fix things. My journey here to this job that I have now started because I had enough of what was going on in my community. And now I got a whole radio station behind me so we can expose the insanity in the entire state. That's what we're going to do. If you want to run for office and you think you're viable, I want you to reach out to me. I'm pretty easy to find. I even see my email inbox loading up because some people want to take me up on this. It's time to stay and fight if you're going to stay and fight. And if you're going to go, I 100% appreciate where you're coming from and get it. I do get it. But if you're going to stay and fight, then we actually have to fight. And just yelling about it on social media ain't going to do the job anymore. Especially when you find out things like this. 46% of the teachers that lost their teaching certificates in Washington State were sexual predators. We'll tell you about that insanity, plus more of your calls when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Over the last decade, 349 Washington State teachers have lost their teaching licenses. Out of those, 160 cases, which is nearly half, involved sexual misconduct. Now, we touched on this story a little bit yesterday, but I had a chance to go a deep dive into this report from Investigate West written by Mo Clark. It is incredible, horrifying, but incredible. This investigation names every educator included in the total. The cases, some of which are from a database overseen by the Washington State Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, which tracks teachers who have faced disciplinary action for alleged misconduct. Those violations can range from being intoxicated at work or falsifying information on a job application to sexually abusing a student. But the investigation found that the system leaves major gaps in what families and communities can actually find out. Although the database identifies teachers who have had their licenses suspended, revoked, or otherwise disciplined, it does not publicly list why a license was taken away. It also omits the school district where the teacher worked, leaving those details buried in individual case files. And many times those files are not always accessible. When a teacher voluntarily surrenders a license, an option many are allowed to take, the records are not publicly available unless someone files a public disclosure request, which can take months or longer. The investigation, really stellar work by Mo Clark of Investigate West, found that 157 teachers, or nearly 45% of all educators, added to the database since 2015, voluntarily surrendered their licenses. In doing so, they shielded their cases from public view. Terry Miller, board president of the National Center to Stop Educator Sexual Abuse, Misconduct, and Exploitation, told the outlet, this is how they are being hidden in plain sight without anyone's knowledge or their wrongdoing. This is just the last 10 years. Really, really horrifying stuff. Predators go where there is prey. Really, kudos to Investigate West for this report and Mo Clark. It is very, very detailed. Before I forget, here's your chance to win count them two, advanced screening tickets to see Universal Pictures' Reminders of Him, the highly anticipated film adaptation from best-selling author Colleen Hoover. All you have to do is head on over to KVI.com and go to the contest page. Go to KVI.com, go to the contest page for your chance to go to the March 10th screening at 6:15 p.m. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Steve in Free America. Steve, does that mean you're in Florida? Where are you, man?
I'm not going to tell anybody where I'm at because this state happens to be full. But I recommend they go to some place like Arizona. But where I'm at right now, there's no sales tax, and the skies are clear. They're blue. There's snow on the hills around me, and I don't have guys like Bob Ferguson trying to get in my pocket and abuse my kids.
Yeah, he's a special one, our very own turd that refuses to go away, don't you think?
Turd Ferguson, it's a funny name.
Well, yeah. He now apparently they're going to pass the where they can remove a duly elected sheriff from. They're going to decertify him so they can, if they stand up against Turd Ferguson, that they can boot him
hang
out.
Hang on. I got a statement from Turd Ferguson right here on that. Hang on.
Yeah, well, who gives a damn?
See, he doesn't care. He doesn't care at all.
Yeah. I mean, look, I left 2 years ago. I mean, by the time I got my house sold, it wasn't fast enough, and in order to get out of there. And just so you know, every human being I ever knew was from Washington State. Okay, all of my family, most of my family still lives there, and I had to leave. I have custody of my grandkids, and there was no way in good conscience I could let them grow up there.
That's what's happening.
By a school teacher where they don't even have to tell you for 3 days.
Oh, it's more than that, my friend. I mean, they hide it for as long as they possibly can. I mean, we're hearing these stories where it's months, if not years, where they're hiding this kind of stuff.
Yeah, honestly, if I understand that people have they're trying to retire. They got kids that are a year away from graduating high school. But if they don't leave now, the prices at all these other places are not going down.
Exactly.
They're
and
not
also,
gonna go down.
Also think about this. What are the homes going to be worth here when everybody decides to go at the same time? Steve, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Bert in Spanaway. Bert, what's up?
Yeah, greetings from the United Soviet Socialist State of Washington.
Yeah, man, it's that bad. It really feels like it. And I noticed that the sky is very dark and cloudy today, as if God knew what Turd Ferguson was up to.
Yeah, but, about the sexual predators in our schools, I seem to remember out here in Spanaway, we got Bethel Junior High School.
Mm-hmm.
And about 10, 15 years ago, they caught a teacher with child porn on his school computer.
Yeah.
And then it was found out that he was let go from before Bethel hired him, and they knew about it. He was fired in Tumwater for touching girls.
That's the thing. Actually, this report shows how these people can be hired, because sometimes the investigation is still going on in the system and the person hasn't surrendered their license yet. And because the system hasn't been updated yet, they can get hired by some other place and the other place didn't know. It's really, really horrifying that kind of stuff is going on. Bert, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show. You give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Even in Bonnie Lake says, Ari, I've worked for the same construction company for over 22 years. I worked my way all the way up from laborer to superintendent. And if they pass this ridiculous tax, I'm not sure my company will survive. I could look for another job as superintendent, but I bet a lot of us will be in the market at that point. I might be forced to move out of the state. Look, I got friends right now who are working for Starbucks. I got friends who were working for Amazon. I got friends who were working for Microsoft. And a lot of them right now are thinking to themselves, are we even going to find a job here because we're competing with everybody else that they laid off? 30,000 people from the tech sector at last count got laid off. That's how many people are looking for jobs right now in the tech sector. And now you have the tech companies might be leaving. How many other people might join them? That's a really, really scary thing. It really, really is. This one here from 253, I was thinking, if the average hardworking American retires at 62, the minimum SSI is about 1,287. Nothing to do but panic. 55% will have this scenario. My thought is take 10 people, and that becomes $13,850. They could buy the best house and have friends. Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people are doing. You know, there are people who have an ADU on their property, an accessory dwelling unit, which is like a little mother-in-law type thing. People are moving into the ADU and renting the big house because they can't afford it anymore on their own property. A house they had their whole lives, it's supposed to be the other way around. It's gone completely backwards and completely crazy. I'll remind you again, if you have considered running for office and you want to be part of this fight, be in touch with me, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, the Hofffather over on Twitter. The income tax is not the only insane thing going on in the legislature. And when we come back, Brandy Cruz will be giving us the details on some other legislation we might actually have missed out on because there's so much and there's so few of us actually covering it. We all got to work together to expose all of it. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI.